fade away. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stand here and wait. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stay here and wait.
And yes, we're on the air as I'm going slightly insane, as this is the 5th or 6th time I'm trying to record this. At least this time I'll remember to put the Sunday one on, as it's just been the Saturday Night from Hell. That's right, the Saturday Night from Hell. Right now I'm going to be playing each day individually because StreamYard is being StreamYard. Just shoot me. Anyway, I will be with you through the hour and 40-something minutes of this broadcast. Probably won't be with you live tomorrow morning, as I'll probably be running naked through the woods, screaming about whatever horrors I had to write about after the show. But for now, enjoy me. I'm here. I'll take tips if you got 'em. I'll even remind myself to put up the banner. Anywho, this has just been the Night from Hell, and I'm trying to put together a cheap plastic doghouse, which I can't even begin to get past stage 1. So there's 15 stages. Just say something for me. Or send someone who knows what the hell he's doing, because I obviously don't. DeCastro finishes second in GoFundMe race. Saturday's GoFundMe race saw a total of $20 donated between Jose Chile DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, and our own Really Cool Site's Ongoing Expense Fund, with DeCastro's fund taking in $5 for second place. We received our first email generated from the GoFundMe on Saturday as well, which was a surprise since we run a tiny campaign and we weren't aware that GoFundMe allowed people to send direct mails to those who run those campaigns. The words of wisdom came in the following unaltered message from a user named MarkWellby70. Dude, if you need funds, get a job. Chili said that. End of message. Not sure what to make of that one, as on one hand, yeah, we're not making much money, but on the other, that little money we're making beat DeCastro's take from yesterday. Again. Think about it. That means his empire of 581,000 subscribers, up 400,000 subscribers from this time last year, was beaten by our tiny subscriber base of 363 viewers. One of whom donated probably out of spite, just to make me keep doing this column every morning. The whole thing is odd, but not yet on the level of that guy who thinks I'm scamming people by asking for help by going to our Amazon registry and buying wet cat food. I don't even have the registry link in any of our promotional scrolls except for the website, and I thank every one of you who have helped out for that. We're doing okay for this month. On that note, since we've had so many requests, I may stick a Ring doorbell or some sort of external camera on the critter list. If it's portable and someone donates it, I'll either stick it on the front or back porch, depending on which group of animals is around, and broadcast from time to time if you really want to see the scariness that is Hank's raccoon army. Or maybe that fickle yapping cutie pie comes to burn down my house. Finally, after a year of threatening a visit. And we'll get it on camera for the world to see. Please let me know if that's something you'd like to see added. Psst, say something in side chat. And I'll get something on the critter list this week if anyone wants to help. Preferred wireless, rechargeable, and indoor/outdoor. Since I only know how to build computers, I'm not much help wiring anything else. In an entirely non-Daffy Duck meets Elmer Fudd way, thank you. While getting a full-time job remains an option, we're good for another month. We're not splurging on things for ourselves. Gonna be another month or two before my birthday before we get Baldur's Gate 3. But we're making payments and we're supporting our basic needs off of donations towards continuing our work, and for that I'll forever be in your debt. You rock. Thank you. Daffy Duck meets Elmer Fudd will return tomorrow, and the fickle yapping cutie pie will be able to turn 3 minutes of this mush into another 5 hours of entertainment. So we're paying it forward by not throwing in the towel. Woohoo! If you'd like to become one of the wonderful readers who like to torture me and keep me writing this wretched column every morning, we do have a GoFundMe listed in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on reallycoolsite.org. Chaos in Canton continues again. The Canton Chronicles got a bit weirder this weekend as no verdict in the Karen Reed murder trial and nothing to do for 2 whole days has left everyone a bit bored and weird. Aidan Turtleboy Kearney has yet to top last week's performance, where he literally staged an incident with members of the Albert and McCabe families in order to expose them as tyrants as he paraded around across the street from an Albert business on a live stream. This weekend, he's decided to continue to take credit for the anti-Karen Reed protest group that showed up at Friday's tailgating party put up by the pro-Karen Reed group during jury deliberations. Stung by the pro-Karen Reed group's endorsement of Nick and Jenna Rocco on Friday that was aired on the Law and Crime Network, he continued to post memes taking credit for the group of counter-protesters. Somewhere in Turtle Time, telling everyone that no one truly hates Karen Reed or thinks she's guilty. They instead hate him enough to hurt her is a normal thing. It's something to take credit for and something that people should remember about this trial. They hate him, not Karen Reed, and because of it, Karen Reed is innocent. I think that was a question. Oh, my brain hurts. Both Turtleboy Kearney and his former girlfriend Lindsay Gaiatini have announced that movies are being made about them. Aidan Kearney tweeted to status, "I guess the cat's out of the bag. I have signed an agreement to greenlight a Hollywood movie about my coverage of the Karen Reed case. I'm also working on a book and a podcast. More details will come in an official announcement in the coming weeks." Twitter yesterday, 9:46 p.m. Followed by Lindsay Gaiatini. "Hi everyone. With recent news emerging, it's time to finally announce some exciting news that I've had to keep quiet for some time. After the blogger assaulted, blackmailed, and wiretapped me, he was sent to jail for 60 days. Shortly after he began his sentence, I was approached by a well-known producer to showcase my story in a major motion picture. Filming begins next week, and I am thrilled that the producer has allowed me to be so hands-on with making sure that the story is accurately depicted. Hint, the lead actor is someone you guys are going to be very excited about. Thank you, everyone who has supported me throughout this nightmare." X Twitter yesterday, 10:40 p.m. Neither tweet has been confirmed, but both came from each person's confirmed accounts. We just hope they get Kearney's special couch in his movie. It's more famous than he is. Deliberations continue on Monday. Benson wishes come true. A jubilant Regan Benson got her wish as Inglewood, Colorado Police Chief Sam Watson announced his retirement. Benson wrote on her YouTube community page, "Regan Benson, 15 hours ago, Inglewood, Colorado. Sam Watson has been with Inglewood PD since 1998. He has been chief for less than 3 years. If you stick around long enough, that apparently makes you smart enough to collect the top pay for the least amount of work and a bonus of 0 accountability for how you lead. He should be fired. He's instead retiring. We know how this works. They'll throw him a big taxpayer-supported party and anoint him like a ruler with stolen taxpayer money. Steer the course, relentlessly apply the pressure, keep exposing their war against the people. Bye, Sam." Colorado's Fox 31 reported that Watson had headed multiple police divisions, including support services, special operations, and patrol operations, before taking over as police chief in 2021. Benson had been at odds with Watson since he assumed the title, as she claims he refuses to respond to her emails and has stated on multiple occasions that she felt that Watson has instructed his officers to take her out if given a chance. Strangely, while Benson acknowledged the chief's departure, she did not address the Supreme Court's ruling last week that upheld a lower court ruling for cities to enforce camping bans within their confines, effectively giving the cities the power to arrest homeless people for sleeping on city streets. Benson had rallied against the laws in the past, and her silence on something so important to her work is strange, as she runs a 501c3 organization devoting to helping the homeless. She claims that her vendetta against the Colorado cities of Denver, Inglewood, and Sheridan are based on her desire to help on behalf of her tax-free organization. Inglewood City Council is set to convene tomorrow night. Benson is expected to speak as part of the public feedback portion of the meeting. Ideas few and far between in Carolina's simulcast. Those looking for guidance on how to capitalize on the drama surrounding last week's incident between Carolina, and Fort Worth Rodriguez and Officer Matthew Kruger of the Fort Worth Police Department were disappointed as they tuned into yesterday's broadcast. The simulcast was billed by Rodriguez as a broadcast that would feature legal and constitutional scholars Christopher Denver Metro Audits and Leroy the Truth, expounding on Rodriguez's paths forward as she takes on Fort Worth in both criminal and civil court. Instead, viewers waited for over 20 minutes for the broadcast to start, which was carried live on Cordova and Leroy's channels. Cordova said he forgot to hit the go live in the StreamYard software before the panel began deliberating. Once live, ideas were few and far between, as the trio became a foursome and YouTuber Christopher Direct D. Ruff joined. Ruff listened intently to the light conversation for a few minutes before, apparently in an act of desperation, got his bong out and began to take hits instead of actively participating in the conversation. The key ideas presented before most people bailed on the broadcast started with the idea that the media is biased against Rodriguez as they delivered balanced coverage and did not crucify Kruger or delve into Kruger's extensive supposed troubles during his career. Rodriguez also complained that no one explained that she was several feet from the female officers she had followed before the incident and that her camera was zoomed in on them. Her swearing was not heard by the officers, and she only yelled to get their attention as she was so far away from them. She also claimed that she could not obstruct Officer Kruger as she knew the man and was not threatened by him. She did not hear his first instructions to move across the street as she was standing in an active crime scene, which is why she questioned why she needed to move from her spot. The trio, minus Ruff, who is now glassy-eyed and focused on his bong, complained that the Fort Worth City Council was now on planned summer break and would not be back in session until August. Rodriguez urged her fans to attend that meeting to speak on her behalf. They then had an extensive conversation that the community should come together to produce a show that would be a counterpart to the long-running Cops TV program. The premise apparently would be that a camera crew would be stationed with First Amendment auditors and would expose corrupt police officers as they hassled the First Amendment auditors. Ruff chimed in at this point to say he wouldn't participate if the entire First Amendment auditing community was involved in the production, saying that he hated some of the people in the community and he was not a people person, before taking another hit from his bong. Ultimately, the panel provided no real answers and remained leaderless as they meandered through the remainder of the broadcast. Christopher Cordova may appear at the Inglewood, Colorado City Council meeting tomorrow night, where he typically gives speeches on the constitutionality of displaying pornography in public libraries. Flashback June 30th, 2023. Judge rules against DeCastro. Jose Chile de Castro had a minor setback in his ongoing harassment and defamation lawsuit against Kate Peter, Blue Bacon, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and 50 John Doe YouTube creators in a California Superior Court case on Friday, as a judge denied his most recent motion while setting a trial date. De Castro was seeking to recover costs of serving Michael Blue Bacon Paratini at a scheduled hearing in the lawsuit on Friday, which was held concurrently with the rescheduled case management hearing. Both De Castro, who had missed Tuesday's scheduled case management hearing due to technical issues, and Bacon were in attendance via Zoom. According to Bacon's account, Bacon confirmed that he was seeking advice with legal counsel when asked by the judge as the event started. De Castro said he was not seeking legal help at this time, and he had a team working with him. The judge briefly discussed the requirement to meet and confer under previous orders, and the judge ruled that neither side could record their conversations. According to Bacon's account, the judge briefly discussed the requirement to meet and confirm under previous orders, and the judge ruled that neither side could record their conversations. According to Bacon's account, the judge officially waived the need to communicate via voice call, as most of the pretrial conditions could be met via email. The judge ordered Bacon, or Bacon's new counsel, to file a response pleading to his anti-SLAPP ruling by August 1, 2023. The judge then set a status conference meeting for August 28, 2024, and a final status conference for February 10, 2025. The jury trial in the case was then scheduled for February 24, 2025. Again, according to Bacon's account, Judge Ford admonished both men for improperly formatting and filing their motions. When De Castro inquired about help with formatting and with serving Daniel Clement and Team Skeptic, the judge indicated that he would put some formatting notes in his ruling and urged both men to seek legal representation or visit a law library in order to learn how to properly format motions in the future. Judge Ford denied De Castro's request for compensation for his service of Bacon, writing, "Plaintiff Jose De Castro's motion without notice to recover costs of personal service on Michael Paratini is denied. If the person to whom a copy of the summons and the complaint are mailed pursuant to this section fails to complete and return the acknowledgment form set forth in Subdivision B within 20 days from the date of such mailing, the party to whom the summons was mailed shall be liable for reasonable expenses therefore incurred in serving or attempting to serve the party by another method permitted by this chapter, and, except for good cause shown, the court in which the action is pending upon motion with or without notice shall award the party such expenses whether or not he is otherwise entitled to recover his costs in the action." As the moving party, it is De Castro's burden to submit competent evidence in support of this motion. De Castro claims the summons and the complaint was mailed to Paratini with a notice of acknowledgment and receipt pursuant to CCP 415.30d. De Castro claims Paratini refused to accept service and did not return the signed NAR. De Castro fails to submit any evidence that proper service pursuant to 415.30 was attempted and fails to submit any evidence supporting costs in the amount of $145. As promised, Judge Ford included criticisms of De Castro's recent motions and included tips of how to properly format motions before ending with an admonishment of both men. Judge Ford wrote, "Both parties are admonished to fully comply with the requirements relating to the filing of motions or other papers with the court and are encouraged to seek help of a lawyer if able." No Winners at War for Sunday. I'm not sure what to expect from me at this point. I can't go on pretending that there's not a vast conspiracy to keep me writing this column every morning at 3 a.m. Up from the 4 a.m. we used to publish at, because we're writing for audio now. Wait, Winners in War and Sunday. Added just for the WordPress algorithm, y'all. Text is dead! Long live the radio gods! Wait, radio's dead too. Podcasting, maybe? No, podcasters are for losers who are living with their parents in their 50s because they're burned out on real jobs and got suckered into covering murder cases. Wait. At least Rose is real and not a vacuum cleaner. That was low even for me, but true, and I'm thankful every day for her presence at 5 a.m. to keep reminding me that she's in the real world while I'm living a teenage dream of writing and performing for a living. Online, of course. I'm entirely out of ideas for the rest of this column for the day. Despite yelling and screaming like Daffy Duck meets Elmer Fudd, even the 2-hour nap I took between starting and finishing this column hasn't helped. Part of it is what I said above. In the old days, I was writing for a newspaper. That meant the most I'd write at 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. would be about 2 pages of text in the current format. I wouldn't fret over stretching things out, or if there wasn't a lot of news to go around, because F it. It was a newspaper, and we could come and go with just a story a day or no stories at all, if there wasn't anything to print because we were a newspaper. With a switch over to doing the news and a YouTube broadcast/podcast each night, things got a bit tougher. With Microsoft Word's current settings, using the Aptos body font at 12 points, each page translates into roughly 2 to 3 minutes of airtime, depending on spacing. This story is currently about 2 minutes if I've timed it properly, with all the weird formatting at the start of the story. It's important because now I'm worried about word counts and entertainment, and by God, putting us past at least 8 minutes of broadcast so we give YouTube something to monetize if we ever hit 1,000 subscribers. No wonder I've been so tired each morning. We just hit 2,001 words total, over 4 stories and about 3 solid hours of writing and 2 napping, and we're at page 6 as I type. I hate you all. We won the day with a $10 donation. Everything else hit goose eggs, and now I'm convinced more than ever that the conspiracy is out to ruin my life. You've won, conspirators! You've won! I'm your puppet. But thank you, all in all, as I can afford McDonald's for another day back at the grindstone. Protection Order Monday in Canton. As if the weekend couldn't get any weirder, Aiden Turtleboy Kearney announced on his Twitter feed on Sunday that he was just informed his ex-girlfriend Lauren Murray will be supporting Karen Reed at the Canton Courthouse on Monday. Why would he care about his ex-girlfriend's presence at a rally of what he says is hundreds of people? Because she has a protection order against Kate Peter, leader of the Masshole Troll Mafia. Kearney also has a protection order against Peter, and apparently the 2 protection orders double-team Peter's new bestie and ex-girlfriend of Turtleboy, Lindsay Gaetini, who has a protection order against Kearney. Is anyone else following this? Peter showed up to the circus atmosphere of Reed supporters outside the courthouse on Friday, leading a group of anti-Reed protesters. They marched through the pro-Reed people and dominated news coverage during the noon hour, as it was the first time an organized group came to protest Reed. Kearney himself was not honored, as attendees on Friday thanked Nick and Jenna Rocco, his replacements as PR people for Karen Reed, for organizing the events and fundraising in Karen Reed's honor. He was forgotten by the crowd, which, in credit to him, was inspired by the things that he did last summer when he was the PR person for Reed, and before his actions got him charged with felony witness intimidation. He also had to leave the assembly and retreat to the courthouse because Gaetini was outside the building, and she has a protection order that requires a buffer zone around her, except when the 2 are in the same court hearings together. Kearney announced Murray's presence in advance, as Peter is currently facing multiple charges involved in reported violations of Murray's protection orders against her. In Kearney's reasoning, Peter cannot lead an anti-Reed group on scene, as Murray will be there to support Reed. This is hardly 3-dimensional chess. Kearney is blocked by Gaetini, Peter is blocked by Murray. Jess Mikado blocks reporter Grant Smith-Ellis as well because, reasons? And protection orders are one way to control the anti-Reed folks. The question now will be, if he negates Peter, will anyone notice enough to love him again? The Free Karen Reed movement is clearly in the hands of the Roccos now. Despite his best efforts in framing the Albert and McCabe families last week in the staged incident outside of D&E Pizza, the movement he created didn't rally around him. His interviews with Karen Reed's defense team consist of him screaming things at Reed and her lawyers as they pass him by and provide him with no other exclusives. And, while he can get on Fox News, who don't seem to care about background checks on guests, he's been banned by Court TV and replaced by Nick Rocco. Where he goes next is entirely up to him. After all, he's got a major motion picture coming, doesn't he? DeCastro shares his take on Carolina and Fort Worth. Late to the party, Jose Chili DeCastro weighed in on the Carolina and Fort Worth controversy on Sunday, with a new video in which his editor spliced old footage of his reactions to other subjects with new videos taken from other places to make it seem like it was a new video from DeCastro. While DeCastro can be heard new audio accusing Officer Matthew Kruger of the Fort Worth Police Department of body slamming Carolina and Fort Worth, and calling for his fans to rise up and protest at the police station that Kruger works at and at the Fort Worth Town Hall, his message was several days out of touch when it was released. Both attorney C.J. Grisham and James Freeman Springer have pulled their videos where they accuse the officer of body slamming Carolina. They did so after seeing the video and seeing the use of force was a mix of Carolina pulling away and the officer apparently trying to grab her to bring her back into custody. While we're not condoning what the officer did, there were no blatant strikes or punches, and the various angles of body cam and security cam leave more questions than answers. Carolina is clearly resisting, and the officer is perhaps overusing the force needed to retain someone as small and frail as Carolina as she was trying to pull away from him. DeCastro, of course, is late to the party as he's currently jailed in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center. With 9 more days to go until his appeals hearing and the promise by DeCastro that he'll be freed, he is already trying to get back into form as his glorious return is either 9 or 29 days away, depending on what reality you're living in. The video features James Freeman, who, of course, is a named enemy of DeCastro. DeCastro has promised time after time that he'd sue Freeman out of spite for criticizing him in the past, so the reliance on Freeman's comments on Caroline's predicament only go to serve DeCastro's need to paint himself as a unifier, as his freedom from prison is just days away. DeCastro's video focused on the theme as his editor spliced in footage from the four-way dance of Carolina and Fort Worth, Leroy the Truth, Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova, another known enemy of DeCastro, and an inebriated Christopher Direct D. Ruff as they shared ideas about uniting the community under a single leader who will step forward and... You know where this is going. DeCastro is shaping himself to be the leader of the First Amendment auditors. He had been doing this before he went to jail, and now that he can smell freedom, it's time to prepare ourselves as the smell of freedom is coming, and the new boss is coming out of jail to lead everyone to unity. Or not. But if it gets him through the next 29 days until he's released, it'll be quite the shit show when he does taste that freedom. Long Island Audits joins Cameo. Anyone remember Cameo? No, not the 1980s singer that your mom or grandma danced to at the strip club. Cameo, the online video service where you can have personalized videos sent to people of D-tier movie stars, YouTube celebrities, and Long Island Audit? That's right. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Riaz joined the Cameo service back in November of 2023 and is highly rated in his single review. Megan Reck wrote, "This video was amazing. My husband loves it. Hopefully see you in October in Pensacola." Megan paid $50 for a 44-second clip of Riaz greeting her husband, wishing him a happy birthday, and commenting on his libertarian beliefs. Hers is the only review on the page, which came in on June 21st, 2024. There doesn't seem to be any signs of life other than that, and frankly, $1 per second of airtime may be scaring off customers who would rather hear from Dame Drops, Doug the Nostalgia Critic Walker, 90s singer Lisa Loeb, or even any one of the 500 ASMR-related YouTubers ready to whisper for bucks to tell you happy birthday. His other venture, Attorney Shield, also has active online reviews with real participation from someone at the company, or real participation from somebody at the company who review it on Google. For those who have may forgotten, Attorney Shield isn't Legal Shield. Legal Shield is that service that will connect you to a lawyer from your phone in seconds to provide you with all sorts of legal advice for one low monthly fee. Attorney Shield will connect you to a lawyer when you're pulled over by police on the side of the road and want to make things worse by litigating on the side of the road through a lawyer you've never met and one who will more than likely never be appearing in court on your behalf. When the app works, of course. Between Google and Apple, Android devices seem to work better with the service, with a 3.9 average rating and an active presence by a snarky member of Attorney Shield's PR team responding to customer reviews and complaints. The major concern by Android users was the need to input a credit card when installing the program, which the snarky customer service person promises will be fixed in a future patch. On Apple, it seems that the biggest complaint is trying to get the app to work at all. The app carries a 3.6 rating and has a disturbing review from at least one user who said it was much too slow in connecting with someone who could help him. Dark Shark 632024. Too slow. I had a traffic stop on June 1st, 2024, and pressed the button as the cop pulled over. I was waiting for the attorney, but no answer. The entire traffic stop was over and still no attorney. It was like scrolling the whole time, over 8 minutes at least. I was able to cajole myself out of getting a ticket, but if I had remained silent and waited for the app, which never answered, I'd have gone to jail. I got the subscription to bless me, not curse me. I like the concept, but if this happens again, I'm going to cancel my subscription and tell everyone to wait until they get their stuff together. It's not worth paying the subscription fee if you're going to catch a case anyway. I should get some discount as well. The waiting stressed me out more than the traffic stop. There's no snarky person responding to comments on the Apple ecosystem, so users have been left in silence, though we're thinking, perhaps as a rebate, for a lack of equal support of the iPhone platform, each member could get a personalized cameo from Sean Paul Attorney Shield Works Riaz himself. Add a $50 hidden fee, of course, but hey, it's feedback and money well spent. Flashback, July 1st, 2023. DeCastro features the works of Jeff Gray. Jose Chile DeCastro live-streamed from his Las Vegas office on Friday night and featured videos from YouTuber Jeff Gray from the Honor Your Oath YouTube channel. DeCastro featured his own YouTube shorts based on Gray's videos, including one where DeCastro called the Ocean Springs, Mississippi Police Department to complain about an interaction between Gray and a police officer in front of the City Hall in Ocean Springs. After multiple hang-ups by the dispatcher on duty, who explained that as a dispatcher he could not address DeCastro's complaints and could only direct him to other parties, DeCastro raised his voice and claimed to have come from a military family and that his family came over on the first boats to the United States. The dispatcher again explained that he could only direct DeCastro to others working in the police force and asked DeCastro to call back during business hours before hanging up on him again. After seeing a link to Carlos Miller's Photography is Not a Crime organization from one of Jeff Gray's links, DeCastro again recounted his time associated with the organization. He explained that back when he was associated with the crew, it was before cameras were on all phones, and that 9 years ago in 2013, recording the police was not socially acceptable. Strangely, DeCastro spent the entire hour and 49-minute video featuring content from another YouTube channel without permission. While transformational and covered under YouTube's fair use policy, DeCastro has struck multiple channels in the past year, including Dr. Dave, Frauditor Troll, Welsh News Network, Irish Demon, and others for using his videos in this manner. DeCastro is also actively involved in a federal copyright lawsuit against Kate Peter, Josh Abrams, 50 John Doe YouTube creators, 25 John Doe workers, and YouTube Google itself. Long Island audit starts winning streak? The grand conspiracy apparently ended on Monday as our own GoFundMe campaign put up goose eggs to join every other campaign except Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Riaz's unlawful arrest and constitutional rights campaign, which raised $25, earning the victory for the day. Riaz's win has no context behind it other than the usual encounters with police that he features on his channel. We'll investigate it further, especially if it turns into a pattern or a trend. More notable is the apparent end to the campaign that has been anonymously funding our GoFundMe campaign, with minimum donations to keep me chained to the desk and writing this column every morning at 3 a.m. It's 5:56 a.m. now. I'm out of my mind after I wrote 5 other articles, and I'm pondering the days of the return to goose eggs across the board. It was made harder by said conspiracy, but not impossible. 7 full days of goose eggs means that we can retire the column and replace it with the daily sermons of Pope Phil, or rantings by Pants, or, by God, 3 minutes of me blogging again, expounding on what really is going on behind the scenes as I slowly collapse into madness. Chaos, drama, insults, bad suits and loud ties. A drama column featuring the emergency broadcasts of those who get their fifis hurt by mean comments on the internet. They must be addressed immediately or there's no going back. Damn the torpedoes, damn the Spitfires, roll out the rutabaga, and let's have a hoedown throwdown like the world has never seen. Or I could just go back to bed and forget this column ever happened, which would be harder since I have to read it for the broadcast later. In any case, we shall return tomorrow with more drama, more whales, and more jackpoot thug piggery, as these are the days of our thighs. Good night, everyone. Carolina and Fort Worth searches for lost items. Viewers of Carolina and Fort Worth were treated to her extended adventures on Monday as she went to the Tarrant County, Texas jail and a local hospital in Fort Worth in search of belongings that went missing after an incident with a police officer on the morning of June 23, 2024. Carolina was searching for a necklace, earrings, and a gimbal for her phone that she had claimed had gone missing after she was arrested and transported to the hospital. Her first stop in her search was the Tarrant County Detention Center. However, she forgot to charge her phone before going into the facility. Fans were a bit worried about her as her normal quirkiness was enhanced as she accidentally drank 2 cans of Red Bull at the same time Monday afternoon. She apparently mistook one of the cans for a normal soft drink instead of an energy drink. The YouTuber also accidentally muted her phone without realizing it as she left her vehicle. Carolina got out of the car and approached the jail while in the middle of a story of how she relies on patients and EMT workers for information about the condition of patients when she sees ambulances outside of the jail when her phone muted. Once unmuted, she approached an ambulance parked outside of the facility and was unable to obtain information on the patient that they were transporting. She did, however, have the EMT worker express that he was sorry for what happened to her in the incident last month. She noted that this was the third time that day that an EMT or police officer had expressed similar statements. The charge on Carolina's phone ran out as she reached the property room of the detention center. She would later update her viewers that the detention center did not have her possessions. She then went to the local hospital where she was transported to on the night of the incident in order to treat her injuries before being transferred into police custody. The hospital did not have her possessions, but did confirm that she had an orbital bone fracture in her face from the June incident. De Castro claims freedom is days away. Jose Chile de Castro released his July 1st, 2024 statement from Nevada's Clark County Detention Center on Monday with a new pledge that he would be released from jail on July 10th, 2024, after the successful appeal of his sentence to jail for interfering in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer. De Castro has been in the detention center since March, after being found guilty of 2 charges from an incident with police in March of 2023. While De Castro has claimed that he was arrested for filming police, and his appeal hinges on claims of violations of his First Amendment rights, both the Justice of the Peace overseeing the case and the officer who arrested De Castro made it clear that he had every right to record. Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, who sentenced De Castro to jail, was the target of his scorn again during the video. He claimed that he was set to find a way around Zimmerman's judicial immunity in order to sue her for her biased handling of his case. On Monday, he announced that he would be suing Zimmerman for allegedly not allowing his family and friends to attend his reconsideration hearing, where Zimmerman affirmed his sentencing. When he previously mentioned this, he claimed that 8 members of the party who were denied entry would sign on to the lawsuit. In Monday's video, it was reduced to 4. De Castro also announced that he would be suing the prosecutor in the case for malicious prosecution. Switching subjects, De Castro expressed his longing for freedom and that he was especially hurt that he would be spending the 4th of July holiday watching the fireworks through the bars of a jail cell. He also chastised those who would discount his plight in the detention center in comparison to conditions of prisons in China and North Korea. He said that while he wasn't suffering physical abuse, the mental torture of being in jail was akin to being in a torture chamber. De Castro also pledged that he would be seeking a national constitutional amendment once he was released to declare that those who were accused of victimless crimes would never serve prison time. No victim, no crime, no prison time will be the slogan of the new campaign. De Castro is due in court on July 10th for his much-awaited appeal. Corrections. An earlier form of this article read, Comparisons to Conditions of Prisons in China and North Carolina. Despite our thoughts on prisons in the South, it should have read North Korea. Our apologies. Karen Reed trial results in hung jury. Alleged murderess Karen Reed hugged her parents and gave a side eye to her supporters on Monday as the jury in her murder case came back with the news that it could not move forward to provide a verdict on Monday. Trouble started on Friday as the jury sent a note that it was hopelessly deadlocked by midday. Judge Beverly Canoni heard from the prosecution and defense, then determined that the jury had not deliberated long enough to determine that they were hung. She sent the jury back for lunch, then they worked throughout the day on Friday, ending at 4:15 p.m. with the instructions from Judge Canoni to put the case out of their minds for the weekend. Monday came and it was much the same as Friday. By midday, another note came in, and the jury said it was hopelessly divided, with strong moral opinions on both sides, keeping it from deciding Karen Reed's guilt or innocence. The judge again sent them back to deliberate after hearing from both sides, using stronger language this time. By mid-afternoon it was over. A third jury note and the realization that it was just not going to happen. The last note from the jury indicated that some felt that the prosecution went over and above proving that Karen Reed was guilty on all counts, while others did not believe the evidence that was presented established her guilt in the case. Reed was on trial for hitting Boston police officer and boyfriend John O'Keefe with their car on the night of January 29, 2022, during a snowstorm and after consuming 9 alcoholic beverages in a short period of time. In the hours that followed the incident, she confessed multiple times that she hit him and that she believed that O'Keefe was dead, hit by a snowplow. In the months that followed, her defense team concocted a story that the incident never happened. Instead, it was a murder carried out by the Albert and McCabe families with the sole intent to frame Karen Reed, an outsider who had previously been friendly with both families. The prosecution's case was hampered by the snowstorm. No small town was ever prepared for several feet of snow falling during an active crime scene. This led to questions about the investigation, including the use of non-standard materials in handling the crime scene, and putting the investigation in the hands of Michael Proctor, whose questionable activities during the investigation may have doomed the case. On the other side, Reed's attorneys were aggressive about trying the case in public before the prosecution even had a chance to react. By this time last year, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney was brought in to do an aggressive, unofficial PR campaign for Reed. He was everywhere last year with his megaphone, drumming up support through his Turtleboy network, outside of the homes of witnesses, and at sporting events featuring the children of witnesses. He would threaten the families with more unwanted attention unless they changed their testimony and admit to murdering O'Keefe. In the most unusual move of all, he led the defense in the case to take over the Justice for John O'Keefe cause and accused O'Keefe's own family of being traitors, as they did not believe in the innocence of Karen Reed. Despite Kearney ultimately being disassociated from the Reed camp over felony witness intimidation charges for the last 6 months, the strategy worked. Hundreds of people were on the streets of Canton, Massachusetts yesterday, screaming their support for Karen Reed, while a handful of counter-protesters were shouted down by the assembled mob. In the aftermath of the verdict, the Commonwealth announced that they would be retrying Reed for her alleged crimes. Judge Cannoni set a status hearing for what comes next on July 22, 2024. State Trooper Michael Proctor was relieved of his duties by the Boston State Police on Monday, soon after the hung jury was announced. The internal affairs investigation into his actions during the Reed case continues. Karen Reed fallout. Obviously, the biggest fallout from the Commonwealth's loss was the relieving of duties of Boston State Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead investigator in the case. Proctor's inappropriate text messages and activities during the case may have lost the Karen Reed murder trial for the prosecution. Proctor's behavior was bizarre and unprofessional from the start. Sharing details of the active murder case with friends from childhood in a group chat was a level of unprofessionalism that should have cost him his job. Going further and joking that he was looking for nudes on Reed's phone to another group chat featuring his bosses impacted everyone in his chain of command for not taking action or reprimanding him on those comments. Sticking with him as the lead on the case after those incidents and not opening an actual internal affairs investigation until the months immediately before the trial was a mistake on the part of the Commonwealth. Relieving him of his duties after a hung jury was announced was something designed to get caught up in the blur that was Monday. The Commonwealth announced that they'd retry Reed. Proctor will still remain a problem for the prosecution, especially after his relief from duty proves the defense theory that he was a corrupt cop. On the other side, Alan Jackson pledged that he would stick around for the retrial. He has yet to react to the allegations that he is in a relationship with Reed after photos of him making otherwise inappropriate advances on her came out on Friday. It is unclear how Reed will pay for his services during the retrial, as the Reed family has reportedly been strapped for cash. There is a growing divide between supporters of Turtleboy Aidan Kearney and Reed, as Kearney pushes for fame based on his actions in the case. Supporters of Reed are thanking Nick and Jenna Rocco, his replacements, instead of Kearney, for their role in the victory. while Kearney is moving forward with a book and movie deal and settling old scores with Kate Peter and Lindsay Gaetini. Kearney announced on Monday night that someone murdered a turtle and lynched it outside of his parents' house. Police are investigating. Turtle Boy Kearney associates pointed the finger at Peter and Gaetini, who were reportedly late for counter-protests on Monday. Later in the day, Kearney and his supporters began to boycott Court TV for having Peter on the air, calling her a child abuser and claiming that her presence lowers the high standards that the network is known for. The fallout will surely continue as the week progresses. No winners again in GoFundMe race for Tuesday. Tuesday's GoFundMe campaign saw victory for our own campaign again, just an hour or so after we had declared the grand conspiracy was dead. Okay, we should have double-checked or called in on the conspiracy hotline, but we took the day with a $10 donation. Not sure if that's the victory to write home about, but it was the victory and we're thankful for that victory. Turning our attention to some of the people involved in the races who are apparently forgetting the existence of their campaigns. Christopher Direct D. Ruff revealed in a recent live stream that all of his sitting around during live streams while somebody else was working hard to rebuild a trailer wasn't just an act of laziness and ego. Instead, it was someone building him a new studio. As we've seen in our disastrous Kill Me Now theater last night on the All-Star panel, Ruff has a studio of his own and it kind of looks sort of pretty nice, with the typical quasi-radio setup with a professional microphone on a stand, mood lighting, unique wall signage, and everything to take a step up in production quality from a close-up angle. Wide shots still reveal it's a trailer, and all the focus was put into the money shot of the up-close angle of Ruff smoking or taking hits from his bong, looking 90s era newsman-y as he delivers his messages to the masses. It's a step up from James Freeman sitting in his car, or Regan Benson screeching as she chews gum and attempts to walk at the same time. It's not quite as nice as the setup for Christopher Denver Metro Audit's Cordova, who has shown he has a complete office setup with a desk facing outwards and chairs for his guests beyond his immediate reach, keeping the room a functional office. He showed that when Freedom Jim and Direct D visited, after tricking him into being arrested in a classic troll the other month. His office was pretty spacious in that video, for a spare bedroom in his apartment being converted into a quasi-studio. DMA's setup is pretty much the same as Ruff's in function. Microphone off to the side, cool collection of signage and posters showing off his love for freedom, but not America, because that would be like the man, you know. And in DMA's case, extra lighting to show off his newly straightened teeth, stylish half goatee, and attempts to sexualize himself on camera. While DMA is obviously attempting to sexualize himself as he's dropped the big bone girlfriend and proclaimed himself a love god on dating channels run by other auditors, he's not above his prank-calling program every weekend to show off that his transformation still makes him hip and cool, like open to the masses, y'all. And of course, DMA has yet to meet a filter. When Jose Chile de Castro was active in front of his green screen, there were always accusations that he used a filter to cover up his wrinkles and transformation over the past 2 years into a pudgy old man. De Castro's court appearances proved that the transformation was real, and without his trusty filters and carefully selected angles, he had turned into a man who resembled a shorter and less green version of the animated character Shrek in both facial features and body style. We're not one to criticize, as we're a puffy, doughy version of Santa Claus meets Norman Fell, allegedly, but De Castro was unrecognizable between the photos displayed on our Nevada judges, taken in the early 2000s when he was about to be kicked off of Power Rangers, and the man that showed up to court on multiple appearances now. Though, despite ego and vanity and pretend offices, none of these people compare at all to Sean Paul Long Island Audit's Riaz when it comes to filtering and makeup. Riaz's recent cameo videos feature the man in videos with his sunglasses and hat covering most of his face. His beard is strangely close cropped, almost to the point of Hulk Hogan's dreaded black beard in his NWO run in WCW as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, if anyone wants to Google that. He never takes off his hat on camera, but when he takes his sunglasses off, a filter instantly goes on. It's a generic over-the-top beauty filter that honestly makes him look like a baby face, with spray-on beard, on a giant man-sized body. It's startling to say the least, and probably not the best sign for the semi-proclaimed greatest auditor of his generation. On a side note, the judge in Rios' case against the NYPD issued the following order on Tuesday. Order: the court will hold oral argument on defendant's motion to dismiss. This will be held on August 13, 2024 at 10 a.m. in Courthouse 11B of the Daniel Patrick Moynihan United States Courthouse in New York City. All in all, with all the money flowing into these professional auditors, with real subscriber bases that dwarf our tiny little channel, piles of cash to be had, and GoFundMe campaigns to ignore, it's nice to know that they're at least trying to look the part of real media professionals as we ponder changing our office around. Move the desk over to the corner, put up the green screen behind it, get the obnoxious microphone stand to hide the ugly parts of our face, skinny filter on, and the video we show will be of Olive sleeping, as we are nowhere near ready to put our visage on camera. No amount of conspiracy money will make that change. Well, just yet anyway. Where's that Stairmaster? And will Pants lend us his Floby? If you'd like to become one of the wonderful readers who will be contributing to my makeover while forcing me to write this wretched column every morning, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, fixing our teeth, hair, and complexion, redoing our office, and writing new stories to feature here and on reallycoolsite.org. State of the Paper Address for July 3rd, 2024. On this very slow news day where we're including a tiny tidbit of actual news here and there, it's time to take a good look at the paper and where things stand now that we've been dividing our time between producing a morning newspaper and an evening news broadcast on YouTube. Obviously, the big elephant in the room has been the nightly newscast and changing our focus from writing news articles for a tiny online newspaper to writing scripts for a 20-plus minute news broadcast every night. As we've stated before, gone are the days when we can get away with putting up a single news story or no news story at all. We've got the dreaded newscast to feed, and on days like this, with only a single real news story to feature, filling 20 minutes and hitting the mark of 3 to 4 news stories a day, including the GoFundMe coverage, for the paper means a very late issue. We've also took a tremendous hit over the past month as our Jose Chili DeCastro coverage has all but dried up. DeCastro's silence has cost us an audience share that I don't know if we'll be able to get back in the short term. People love reading about Jose Chili DeCastro. They do, by far. He's always been our biggest draw. No one compares to him, and coverage of arguably bigger auditors draws in maybe 2/3 of the viewing numbers that a DeCastro article can do. For the website, our coverage of Karen Reed has flopped, as most of our readers don't care about her trial. While she's getting national news coverage, she's not a big enough name and not a big enough draw for our audience. A Reed story does maybe 1/4 the audience of a DeCastro story, and that's rounding up in every imaginable way. Aidan Turtleboy Kearney isn't a big of a loser when it comes to coverage. His articles are about half that in drawing power of DeCastro's, but they're not winners. Our audience either doesn't know him or doesn't know about him enough to care to read coverage of him. In classic science fiction terms, he's the Gaius Baltar of Battlestar Galactica to DeCastro's Darth Vader of Star Wars. Sure, they're both evil in the semi-focus of villainy in their franchise, but they're simply not the same in drawing power. People care to hate DeCastro. They don't care to hate or love or anything really Turtle Boy. Our viewing numbers are going to be down as long as the media blackout by DeCastro continues. The good news is that DeCastro will be out of jail by the end of the month, Everything points to him returning to his channel with a vengeance. His social blade status has been climbing since he put Michael Eline out there to vertically stream and get the word out. Good times are coming. Chili's coming back. Ow. 3-hour godforsaken infomercials and mind-numbing lawsuits are in our future again. Yay. I need to start drinking. The paper may be late every day for a while, but it's not going anywhere. God help us all. De Castro announces text messaging service idea. Jose Chile de Castro embraced classic liberalism in his latest message to his followers from the Clark County Detention Center on Tuesday, claiming that while he'd never go for socialism or communism, he would certainly back classic liberalism in his approach to politics when he is released from jail later this month. De Castro spent most of his address on the idea of a new bill that he claimed he would write and then introduce in committee in both California and Nevada as soon as he got out of jail. The bill would essentially establish a national government-run text messaging service. Powered by AI and featuring a menu system, De Castro's idea would be for a universal government-run, unblockable text message alert system that would remind people of upcoming court appearances, offer the ability to reschedule missed court appearances, and handle all child support payments. Under his system, those who miss child support payments would be given 24 to 48 hours to scramble like hell to pay the child support dues, or they'd have to report to jail. He justified the system as he met many an innocent man while in jail that were locked up for failing to pay child support, all of which who would have willingly paid the fees if they were only given more time. His system would also end immediate jailing for convictions of all crimes. Prisoners would be released from custody after sentencing and given 24 to 72 hours to voluntarily report to jail or prison after sentencing to get their affairs in order. De Castro claimed that 3 of his employees lost their jobs simply because the unprincipled and corrupt justice of the peace, Ann Zimmerman, took him into custody and sent him immediately to jail following his conviction for obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop. Under De Castro's new system, he would have been released and given 24 to 72 hours to get his affairs in order and to protect the jobs of his employees. Despite his history of fleeing charges that he felt were unfair or designated to take him out while serving time, he would have voluntarily reported to jail once his affairs were in order or rescheduled the proper time to report to jail should he miss his window. Likewise, if someone had an outstanding warrant and were apprehended by police for the warrant, they would be given the ability to leave the arrest and either pay their fine or report to jail or prison within 24 to 72 hours. There would be no need to impound their cars or send police to take them to jail, as everyone would simply comply with the voluntary system. De Castro embraced the ideas of Presidents William Taft and Teddy Roosevelt, who he claims believed in government working for the people. He also asserted that Teddy Roosevelt came up with the idea of Social Security 40 years before it was passed by Congress in order to help all Americans. He then hailed Roosevelt and Taft as his heroes and apologized for his previous disparagement of both men. De Castro also rallied against the evils of GeoCorp and CoreCivic, multi-billion-dollar companies that control our prison systems. He asserted that his bill would take power out of their hands and bring it back to the people, should it be passed. The jailed YouTuber's appeal is set to be heard on July 10th, 2024. A special thank you. This is going out to all of you who have helped donate to our cat food fund over the last couple of months, in fact, over the last year since we've been asking for help. It wasn't easy to ask for help from anyone, as we've been pretty much taking care of animals on our own for the last few years, and we've been taking in the strays that we can because people simply dump strays up here, mainly cats with problems, older cats, some that have feline leukemia who need to be specially treated and kept away from the other cats as they're quite contagious. It's been a lot of work, and it took everything to actually ask for some help. Recently, we were accused of running some sort of scam. We asked for help with wet food and directed people to our Amazon.com registry list for the animals' needs. A certain person who will remain nameless basically told the world that we were somehow scamming and that we were, I don't know what he thought we were doing with the food other than giving it to the animals that we said we were giving it to. Well, since this person spoke out, I think I owe that person a special thank you, as donations, or actually gifts to the fund, skyrocketed, as you can see in the picture above. We're pretty good for at least this month. We're pretty good for probably next month. I'm not saying don't send us more. Dry food is more the need right now, but we're pretty good. And it's all because one asshole in Atlanta spoke out and accused us of wrongdoing. I can't prove that we're not wrongdoing. I could probably videotape the cats eating every morning because that's what you do with cat food. So to that person, I just want to say a very special thank you, as your efforts alone have sparked a completely new batch of people who have gifted us with food for all 20-something animals we're taking care of now, inside and outside of the house when needed. So thank you. And thank all of you for being here during this time. It's a tremendous amount of effort that we put into the animals. We try to get them all taken care of. We try to make sure that they're all at least eating and drinking during the incredible heat we're going through right now. And even worse, during the winter time, that making sure that they have shelter, making sure that they're okay to survive the winters in Pennsylvania, which can be pretty nasty if you're just a cat living outside. So again, thank you. Thank you. As you can hear one of the cats right now, you can hear Helen, who was once a stray herself, telling us that she wants her own food right now. Anyway, I'm leaving that in because Helen is being very loud and telling me it's time to go. So again, thank you so much for your help, and thank you for your future help as we continue to take care of the animals. Flashback, July 3rd, 2023, DeCastro goes there. Jose Chile DeCastro's YouTube livestream was awkward on Sunday at best, as the homeless future governor of a major state to be named later essentially went back there, and lived there for a while. After watching 2 videos featuring white protagonists of police stops and going through his usual motions of feigned outrage and creepy laughter, DeCastro featured a video of an African-American protagonist when he went there, loudly and repeatedly. There, of course, being an open discussion of the so-called N-word and how he could no longer listen to his favorite music, 90s rap, because he was no longer allowed to sing the lyrics. He bemoaned the loss of the ability to listen to Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and said that he would rather go without the music if he couldn't sing along to it, instead of dropping the subject and apologizing for bringing up a racially sensitive topic. DeCastro repeatedly went back to the use of the word and went further into his argument, claiming not to be a racist and repeating previous claims that he only started his channel on TikTok because African Americans in America lacked a leader who was not associated with religion. The reaction of his 295 live viewers out of 194,000 subscribers was mixed at best, with several in chat criticizing his defense of the so-called N-word, which prompted him to further expound on his feelings about the word and its use in his culture. DeCastro continued to be tone-deaf in his discussion of the word, indicating if they were able to call each other the word, everyone should be able to use it freely. He further stated that he was not prejudiced in any way and only hated you if you were blue, apparently a reference to being a police officer, before wrapping up his broadcast by directing his viewers to his teachings on the history of institutional racism in America. DeCastro is expected to livestream again later on Monday, July 3rd, 2023. On me, what happens when you F up? There were no winners in the GoFundMe campaigns on Wednesday, as our own campaign again took the day with a $10 donation. All eyes, however, shifted to Give, Send, Go, as a major campaign was apparently shut down. Reports indicate that Aidan Turtleboy Kearney's Give, Send, Go campaign to solicit funds for his legal defense reached $131,895 out of a goal of $200,000 before being shut down after accusations that Kearney was running a raffle to solicit donations to the campaign. A similar campaign run by Kearney's girlfriend, Meredith O'Neill, on Venmo was also reportedly shuttered, as she was also running raffles in order to solicit donations. What does any of this mean? It means that both Turtleboy Kearney and O'Neill's current campaigns are suspended from taking in donations while they're reviewed by their platforms. Anyone who donated to the campaigns will not get an automatic refund if the campaigns are shut down, as specified by the terms of service of most of the crowdfunding platforms. The money is more than likely forever gone to anyone wanting a refund, again, as the platforms are set up to protect themselves from having to repay when someone uses their services fraudulently. GoFundMe, for example, did not get involved in the case of a New Jersey couple in 2017 who raised $400,000 on behalf of a homeless man who supposedly gave his last $20 to help the girlfriend when she was stranded at a gas station. The couple raised the money, but then made headlines when they refused to give the money to the man after they accused him of squandering money on drugs while using the money to allegedly purchase a BMW and other extravagant trips and casino outings. It was later revealed that the story was a hoax and that the couple made up the story of the girlfriend being stranded and convinced a homeless man to go along with the story. The couple were later found guilty of a federal money laundering scheme and sentenced to prison. A criminal complaint may be filed against Kearney or O'Neill, as they may have violated the guidelines for holding raffles in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Under Commonwealth laws, only certain organizations can run raffles, and for-profit entities or individuals cannot run raffles for themselves. If charges are pressed and either is found guilty, Kearney and O'Neill may face jail time, but there's no guarantee that those that donated to either campaign will ever see a refund unless mandated by the state. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting new stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds would go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on reallycoolsite.org. Paul O'Keefe speaks out. John O'Keefe's younger brother Paul spoke about the aftermath of the mistrial in the Karen Read murder case in a new interview with CBS Boston. Karen Read had been on trial for the murder of John O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29, 2022, when she allegedly hit O'Keefe with her car after a drunken argument. Her trial for murder ended earlier this week with a hung jury after the jury could not come to a unanimous decision. The younger O'Keefe was present nearly every day of the trial, sitting facing the camera with his family members and sitting within feet of Read. Paul O'Keefe said in the interview that Read wanted the smaller courtroom and implied that the closeness was used to her advantage as she taunted O'Keefe and his family members. Paul O'Keefe said that she would smirk at him during the trial, apparently trying to provoke a response, and when she was celebrating the hung jury, he took advantage of the closeness of the room to remind her that this was not over and the state had vowed to retry the case. When asked about the surreal situation where Read embarked on a social media campaign to claim that her side was standing for justice for John O'Keefe, Paul O'Keefe agreed that it was surreal and that his family had been portrayed as villains in the saga. Reed has embarked on a social media campaign to attempt to convince people that she was innocent of John O'Keefe's murder and that members of the Albert and McCabe families conspired with Brian Higgins to murder John O'Keefe and leave him to die in the front lawn of Brian Albert's home. Large crowds appeared as the trial progressed due to the media campaign, and Paul O'Keefe confirmed that the crowd would taunt and abuse his family as they entered and exited the courthouse every day. O'Keefe also questioned why the acting United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Josh Levy, would open a federal investigation into the murder of his brother based on evidence solely provided by Karen Reed's team. He said he'd like to have a chat with Levy over the situation, as there were no answers provided to the family by Levy at this time. Levy's investigation apparently concluded earlier this year. Higgins and the Albert and McCabe families were all told that they were not suspects of any crimes as the investigation concluded. In response to Paul O'Keefe's interview, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney claimed that O'Keefe humiliated himself in the interview and that Kearney was embarrassed for him in a tweet that followed the interview. Kearney had been working for Reed's PR campaign until being relieved of his duties after being indicted for multiple felony counts of witness intimidation. Josh Abrams shows how to audit. Controversial YouTuber Josh Accountability for All Abrams showed how to make something from nothing this week as he released an auditing video from Grafton, Vermont. Abrams was in Grafton, a town of 645 people, to audit their town offices and was accompanied by another auditor as he was approaching the building. The YouTuber noticed that the town offices shared the same building as the Grafton post office and said that he normally didn't do post offices, but assured his fans that he really needed to buy a single stamp. Abrams and his friend entered the town offices and encountered a woman sitting at a desk. She explained that her co-worker had just stepped out and it was just the two of them working on the day of the filming. The woman offered little resistance or value to Abrams's video, as she was overly nice and helpful and did not protest when Abrams filmed the office around her and the adjoining office. Abrams quickly exited from the building and into the post office, where two customers were conversing with the single female postal employee. The male customer immediately left when he noticed Abrams was filming, and the female customer tried to say that it was illegal to film within a federal building. The post office worker corrected her and said it was legal, but she preferred not to be filmed. Abrams explained that there was no expectation of privacy in public and purchased his stamp. When his engagement with the postal worker failed to get what he wanted, he decided to follow the female customer out to her car. On the way out of the building, he remarked that he couldn't find poster 7 to prove he had the right to film, but his friend found it. Abrams then recited that journalists could film in the lobby, but left out the second half that they must obtain permission to do so before completely exiting the building. Abrams went to confront the female customer, who changed her tune and said she was simply joking as she tried to get in her car and escape Abrams's camera. He filmed her license plate for some reason as she drove away, then turned his attention to the male customer. The male customer contended that depending on what Abrams was doing with the video, he, as a 30-year journalist, knew that he could possibly sue Abrams for using his image for commercial purposes without permission. Abrams attempted to escalate the situation, giving the man attitude that he didn't need consent as the man was in public and only those filming for commercial profit that were disseminating copywritten material could be sued. The man, no longer playing along, rolled up his car window and pulled away, leaving Abrams to run back inside to the Grafton town offices to exclaim to the woman working there that he was being sued for filming. When the woman didn't give him a reaction to keep the outrage going, he then went outside and finished the video with 4 minutes of banter with his friend. Abrams, of course, then edited together his fairly boring day in Grafton and uploaded the video with the shocking headline, "He's suing me for freedom!" It's had 22,000 views as of press time. Flashback, July 4th, 2023. DeCastro says stick fingers in gunshot wounds. Viewers of Jose Chili DeCastro's Monday night livestream saw his continued ignorance of basic medical treatment as he featured a video of an officer-involved shooting in Kentucky in June and criticized police for not letting the victim's girlfriend stick her fingers in the holes to render aid to her boyfriend. According to police accounts, Mark Jaggers Jr. approached an unmarked police vehicle that was involved in an unrelated surveillance operation when he was confronted and ultimately shot by police. Jaggers stated, "I wasn't going to rob you," after being shot and falling to the ground. Police rendered aid on scene before transporting Jaggers to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Jaggers' family lawyer has disputed police accounts, making a series of statements that were picked up by press outlets over the weekend. Attorney Aubrey Williams claimed that Jaggers was simply investigating a mysterious car on his property and criticized police for allegedly omitting key parts of the body cam footage shot on scene. DeCastro featured body cam footage of the incident during his Monday night livestream, assuring his viewers that police intentionally kept Jaggers' girlfriend from saving his life. He claimed that blood was like a video game life bar, and once it ran out, it would result in death. The YouTuber continued to make his claim that Jaggers' life could have been saved if police did not remove Jaggers' girlfriend from the scene and allowed her to plug his wounds with her fingers instead of waiting for emergency medical services to arrive on scene and render proper aid. In a continuation of his recent attempts to interpret crime scene footage in order to match his theories of cases, DeCastro slowed down the body cam footage as he interpreted what he was seeing. In this case, DeCastro ignored the image of Jaggers holding a gun in the footage and asserted that police edited body cam footage as the officer exited the car and approached Jaggers on the ground. The YouTuber placed a phone call to the Kentucky State Police headquarters, reaching a confused security guard who referred him to call back during normal working hours when DeCastro loudly complained about missing frames from the Jaggers video. DeCastro then attempted to contact multiple news stations in Kentucky and became frustrated that the outlets were closed at 11 p.m. Eastern on the evening before the July 4th holiday. The YouTuber ended his livestream by criticizing former Broward County Deputy Scott Peterson, who was recently acquitted of not doing enough to help stop the Parkland school shooter in 2018. DeCastro equated acting to enter an active shooting with the risk one takes when they kiss a girl for the first or second or third time. DeCastro is expected to livestream late Tuesday in celebration of the July 4th holiday. Me holiday goose eggs. Our own campaign took the day with a $25 donation, as all the other campaigns, including large campaigns run by Sean Paul, Long Island Audits Riaz, Jose Chili DeCastro, and Anselmo Auditing America Morales, aka Anselmo, drew blanks for the day. Anselmo opened his campaign late last month to help fund his supposed trip across America in order to clear his name from illegal criminal charges against him. Roughly $475 was raised in the initial launch before it hit a wall of goose eggs and has been sitting at that amount for a while now. This morning's check of the account finds a notice stating, "This fundraiser is no longer accepting donations. If you are the organizer, beneficiary, team member, or donor, sign in to see additional information." A quick sign-in to GoFundMe has an update on the account stating, "This fundraiser has been deactivated by the organizer." The fundraiser recently seems to have changed from a fundraiser run by Anselmo on his own behalf to one he's running on behalf of Valentina Marchand. Its last donation of $50 was made 9 days ago. Curiously, all recent videos on his Auditing America channel, including the video in which he announced that he was shutting down further videos until his name was cleared, have been removed. The most recent video was from his trip to Hawaii and was posted 5 months ago. There are no updates on his YouTube community page or anywhere else as to what is going on with either the GoFundMe campaign or his quest to get justice for his supposed illegal arrests across the country. Anselmo is known primarily for taking on audits at post offices, airports, and Department of Motor Vehicle facilities. Over the past year, he has toured outside of his home state of Florida and has featured audits in Arizona, Texas, Alaska, and Hawaii. He was known for his brash style, but he has changed over the years and is taking a more respectful approach towards police officers in recent audits as they tend to uphold his rights to film in public. We will continue to monitor his page for updates and provide them as they come in. As always, if you'd like to keep us reporting new stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the scroll below. All proceeds go to keep the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on reallycoolsite.org. More fallout from the Karen Reed trial. Situations continue to play out in Massachusetts following the mistrial in the Karen Reed murder case earlier in the week. As previously reported, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney had his Give, Send, Go campaign at least temporarily suspended over allegations that he was running an illegal raffle in order to encourage donations to the campaign. The campaign had raised $131,895 out of a goal of $200,000 when it was suspended. Kearney also lost his mother, Mary Mullaney, sometime last month. The YouTuber was at his parents' house for the last week following her death from pancreatic cancer. Mullaney was in the news for writing a letter to the judge in Kearney's felony witness intimidation case, urging him not to put her son in jail as he was helping her with the battle with cancer. In more Kearney-related news, he continues to blame Kate Peter and his ex-girlfriend, Lindsay Gaiatini, for the murder of a turtle that he claims he found lynched outside of his parents' house earlier in the week. Despite Peter showing her GPS coordinates from the past month on her Twitter page that showed she was nowhere near his parents' house, Kearney and his supporters still blame the YouTuber for the incident. Kearney has a long history of staging incidents in order to get public support. Peter herself broke news this week as she confirmed initial reports from Grant Smith Ellis and others that the jury was deadlocked at a guilty verdict 10-2 on the lesser two charges in the Karen Reed case. Two jurors were holding out against any jail time at all. She also reported that Karen Reed's defense attorney, Alan Jackson, would not be returning when the state retries the case. Jackson himself has been getting unwanted attention since photos surfaced of him and Reed in an intimate embrace. Jackson and Reed's intimate embrace made TMZ headlines as those close to Jackson tried to play down the photo and say it was innocent. It was also claimed that he performed the same embrace with David Yannetti minutes before the embrace of Reed. Kate Peter also reported that the defense will be dropping the accusations that the Albert and McCabe families killed victim John O'Keefe in the retrial and will instead focus on the theory that Michael Proctor framed Reed for the murder. Payne confronts abortion protesters. Jeremiah Payne's recent encounter with pro-choice protesters in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, turned into a police incident as Payne verbally abused the protesters and turned on his fellow counter-protesters in the process. Payne and wife Samantha were walking in downtown Nashville when he spotted three people holding up pro-choice signs who were being interviewed by someone with a camera. The YouTuber interrupted the interview and, along with another man, began to question their beliefs. One of the protesters immediately left, to be mocked by Payne as she walked off, and the other two were confronted with the other man's belief that babies could be aborted after they had been born in the state of California. Egged on by the presence of the other man, Payne began to curse at the protesters' belief that abortion should be allowed if the life of the mother was on the line. Payne, along with wife Samantha, countered that the mother should be sacrificed as the baby was more important and the mother had a full life and now it was the turn of the baby to live. As Payne began to insult and use profanity at the protesters, the second man asked him not to use foul language around the baby he was holding. Payne refused to apologize and doubled down, stating that the protesters were horrible people and hoped that they did not have children. He then said that the protesters should go home and murder their children as they didn't believe in life and their children would be better off dead. After a jump cut, 5 Nashville police officers were on the scene attempting to de-escalate the situation. Payne again got in the face of the other counter-protester as the man attempted to explain that the police were peaceful and there to help everyone. Payne began to scream at the officers that he couldn't be charged with disturbing the peace if no one reported him and if there wasn't a complaintiff. He continued to shout at the police as the video ended. His video has been seen 966 times as of press time. Flashback July 5th, 2023. DMA strikes frauditor trolls main channel. Continuing the summer of copyright strikes by First Amendment auditors, Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova reportedly hit frauditor troll with 8 copyright strikes, which resulted in an immediate suspension of frauditor troll's main channel. Frauditor troll was tipped off as Josh Accountability for All Abrams mentioned the coming strikes by DMA in a series of emails on Sunday, as Abrams had issued his own strikes against Frauditor Roundup and Blackheart Night, and declined to appear on Frauditor Troll's July 4th livestream to discuss his actions. DMA strikes apparently hit by mid-afternoon on Wednesday, as Frauditor Troll canceled his livestream on his main channel and instead quickly went live on his Frauditor Troll Classics channel to discuss the copyright strikes and what he would do next to fight them. Frauditor Troll indicated that he had already filed counter-DMCA notices to fight the strikes and wondered aloud about his legal options to fight DMA's actions, reasoning that DMA would not go ahead with the federal lawsuits required to uphold his copyright strikes. Frauditor Troll considered taking DMA to small claims court in Colorado to recoup lost wages for the time his main site will be down. Ezekiel Jenkins of the Frauditor Follies YouTube channel joined Frauditor Troll for the second half of his broadcast and confirmed that he had received a single copyright strike from DMA for a video reportedly aired in 2022. Fans of both Jenkins and Frauditor Troll loudly pointed out in Frauditor Troll's chat the hypocrisy of AFA and DMA spending literally hours doing First Amendment audits to protect the freedom of speech when both men were working so hard over the Independence Day celebration to stifle the free speech of their fellow Americans. Frauditor Troll will be doing a live on his Frauditor Troll Classics channel while his main channel is down. This is a developing story. GoFundMe tie finish for Friday. The GoFundMe title for Friday was split between our own ongoing expenses campaign and Jose Chile de Castro's Legal Aid Fund, Donation Fund, Help People Fund, as both campaigns received $10 for the day. For once, instead of ranting about the conspiracy that keeps me writing this column, I'll just say thank you, as I feel I actually earned that honestly, as I had the dreaded double feature of a night that just killed my will to live. 2.5 hours of Regan Benson, followed by an hour of Carolina and Fort Worth. Even at 2x speed and doing notes in hyperspeed, the venom spewed by Regan Benson was enough to make a long and hot day into a living hell on earth. Maybe it's her attitude. Maybe it's her absolute war on humanity. Maybe it's the fact that she continues to get away with being the most horrible and miserable person on the planet, as she claims she's getting $130,000 in 2 separate settlements with the city of Denver, Colorado. But listening to her go into paranoid attacks about everything in the world, start fights where she couldn't care because some guy was catcalling her because he didn't want to be on video while he was having a nice night at a bar with his friends, and the daily $10 reminds me that, yeah, don't give up. Don't go insane. Don't let the devil of a human win. Oh God, I just used one of her lines. The purpose of the newspaper has always been, I report on it so you're not stuck watching it. Well, it was a demented Regan Benson last night, and she wouldn't stop talking. It was so negative and damaging that I can see how her particular vertical stream jump got her to 119 live viewers at one point, which was then whittled down to 50-something live viewers by the end of the broadcast. She started fights with those who came into her chat from the vertical stream boost and made it known that she had zero tolerance in her policy for dissent. If you question anything she was saying, you can just leave, because she only spoke the truth while everyone else spoke lies, and that was that. I went to bed late, was up early, and the thought of sitting through my notes to write anything this morning went out the window. I couldn't do it. I sat here staring at unrelated videos for an hour before giving up and going back to bed. It's 8:20 a.m. as I write this. I have 3 more articles to go, sadly one featuring Benson and the other Carolina, and all I want to do is run. Thank goodness somebody chipped in that $10 last night. It's the only thing keeping me from running away forever or going back into the real world to find a real job. If you'd like to motivate me to get out of bed tomorrow morning and write the horrors that I'm sure that will be coming today for another issue of the paper, remember we do have various ways to tip, including our own GoFundMe campaign in the scroll below. Proceeds go to buying things to eat and drink, paying bills, and coping with sitting down with our own fears at 3:30 a.m. as we face the beast that is Regan Benson. Drop us a couple of bucks, please, to keep us motivated, or she wins. Oh God, she wins. Regan Benson claims victory over Denver. Regan Benson announced on her epic Friday night livestream that she was awaiting the final vote of the Denver City Council that would settle two lawsuits against the city of Denver and bring her a combined $130,000 payout from the city. The 2.5-hour livestream began with Benson at a Conoco station in Englewood, Colorado. She was outside of her car at the gas station and witnessing several Englewood police officers apprehending a man who was driving a vehicle without license plates. Benson had been in the area. She was seeking signatures for ballot items that would force Englewood to have open elections for its mayor, who is currently appointed by the city council, and a separate ballot measure to force Englewood to require a supermajority of the city council to pick replacement members whenever there's a vacancy to fill on the council. As the man was put in the back of a squad car, someone sitting outside of the original Moe's barbecue restaurant across the street from the gas station heckled her and told her to stop filming him. She exchanged hand gestures with him and screamed back that he should come over and perform oral sex on the police officers. The pleasantries continued as Benson half-watched the events at the gas station play out. A woman was allowed to come over to the police car and say a few things to the man in Spanish before police left and the woman refused to speak to Benson. Benson returned to her car and expressed her happiness that Englewood Police Chief Sam Watson was retiring. She then listed everyone she wished to leave with him, including his command staff, most of the Englewood Police Department, the guys on the city council she didn't like, and of course the librarians at the Englewood Public Library. In her new version of events surrounding the library banning, she had only been to the Englewood Public Library a few times, countering her previous claims that access was vital as it was a safe spot she used to meet with homeless people during her duties as a homeless activist. She downplayed the access issue, implying that if she lost access to it, it was because the horrible catty librarians were conspiring with Canadians to force her out. The rant continued and pulled in Frauditor Troll, the federal government, and how everyone thinks she's crazy and underestimates her ability to win lawsuits, which brought her to the settlement talks with Denver over two incidents that will cost taxpayers $130,000. She eventually revealed that there were no arrests involved in the incidents that led to the lawsuits against the city, and in what little she could share, she said that she was involved in a situation where the police chief of Denver apparently locked her out of a public online chat for being disruptive and aggressive during that chat. For that incident alone, she's apparently getting $100,000 in go-away money. Benson spent the rest of the live stream claiming that while Denver admits no wrongdoing, she personally takes a settlement as an admission of guilt and now has case law to use against Denver's chief of police as he retaliated against her First Amendment rights. She also claims that her attorney did not negotiate a non-disclosure agreement, so she is free to talk about the case as much as possible. Turning her attention to the Denver Police Department, she promised that further litigation was coming against the department for the two arrests from last year for filming in police buildings, and ultimately promised that she'd win, but nothing would change. She'd continue to get into altercations with new people, they'd learn not to mess with her, and she'd again profit from their misdeeds. Carolina and Fort Worth, a confusing mess continues. Carolina and Fort Worth continued her confusing mess of a channel on Thursday and Friday as she live-streamed from both downtown Fort Worth and the outskirts of Fort Worth in two messes of live streams that played the same in normal speed playback mode as in 2x speed. Thursday's longer live stream saw Carolina at the scene of an apparent domestic abuse situation in downtown Fort Worth. She marveled at all the police cars and wondered aloud what happened as she wandered through the crime scene. Eventually, the police nicely asked her to stay put as the scene was horrific, and it really wasn't something to laugh about when she started to make light of the situation. Getting the hint, she walked away from the crime scene and returned to her car, a surprising act for an auditor, as she got what went down wasn't entertaining and was traumatic for everyone involved. She then went to the local hospital where she had been treated for injuries from the incident with Fort Worth police officer Matthew Kruger nearly 3 weeks ago. She was still seeking jewelry and her gimbal that went missing during the transport and decided to seek out a police officer to file a police report to force the police to investigate for her. After finding an officer, she was surprised that the officer took her statement, then immediately went back into the hospital to investigate. The officer took a bit of time and came back claiming that she went through patient belongings and lost and found and came back empty. The officer then gave Carolina an incident report and asked her to fill it out and return it so they could continue the investigation. This action surprised Carolina, who wasn't used to cooperation from the police, and she seemed depressed that someone took the time to help her with the quest to find her items. Her second live stream focused on an incident on the outskirts of Fort Worth the next day. Several police officers had surrounded an apparently homeless man as she watched at the start of the live stream as the police de-escalated the situation and let the man leave without incident. Carolina thanked the police, then caught up with the man. In her Carolina-ness, she didn't listen to the man's actual story before jumping to the conclusion that the police had just beat him, tasered him, stolen his phone, and then let him off with a warning instead of taking him to jail. In reality, the man had said he had 2 phones. One was hooked up to a service plan, and a second that could only be used via Wi-Fi until he got a plan for it. He either had just purchased it or recently purchased it and was sharing it with another homeless man. He got into an altercation with that man, who apparently took both phones. Police were called, and Carolina walked into the scene with the police taking his report after the fight with the other man. No one was tased during the incident, and the scratch marks on his neck and back were from the fight with the other man. Updating her injuries from her own physical altercation with Officer Kruger, Carolina continues to complain about ringing in her ears and that she claims looseness in the bones above one of her eyebrows. Otherwise, she continues to heal and had returned to auditing within a week of the incident. DeCastro bungles LVMPD lawsuit. Jose Chile DeCastro's July 4, 2024 address to his fans from the Clark County Detention Center in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada, focused on his pending appeal of his recent convictions and his hatred of the United States Supreme Court, making no mention of actions due in his lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. Perhaps distracted by his own pledge to file lawsuits against Justice of the Peace and Zimmerman for wrongful conviction, conspiracy to prevent his family and friends from attending court hearings, working with their court staff to deny his First Amendment right to film in the courtroom, and malicious prosecution by Zimmerman and the prosecutor in the case, DeCastro forgot a very real deadline in his case against the LVMPD. DeCastro sued the LVMPD last year after being arrested in Las Vegas for obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop. He was seeking $5 million in the lawsuit, and it has meandered for the last year, with most of his accusations against the LVMPD dismissed with prejudice last fall. After a failed attempt to appeal the decision, DeCastro ignored the instructions of the judge and simply refiled all of his allegations against the LVMPD, including those that had been previously dismissed with prejudice. DeCastro turned his attention to other court cases and would eventually bring on Michael Mee, his then attorney handling his criminal case, as the attorney of record for his LVMPD case. Mee took over responsibility for the case, and DeCastro essentially lost the ability to file on his own, as now all of his filings would have to go through Mee. In March, DeCastro was convicted of the 3 charges he faced from the March 2023 incident and was immediately placed into custody. He apparently fired me for representing him in the criminal case and is appealing his conviction, with one of the reasons being ineffective counsel, as he claims me was horribly incompetent. Horrible attorney or not, Me is still representing him in the civil matter. On Friday, Me filed an emergency extension and begged the court for a deadline extension to Monday to file DeCastro's response to the LVMPD's motion for summary judgment in the case. It's unclear where things went wrong for DeCastro, as missing a deadline is not like him. With his Team DLZ, consisting of such superstars as BZ Watchdog, Glenn Serio, and Mike Eline, the top-notch talent has been monitoring the press who report on these motions and clearly could have checked his court listener page or pacer page for upcoming due dates in his lawsuit, including one that would possibly gain him $5 million if successful. It also puts DeCastro in the position of having to rely on counsel that he has previously legally deemed ineffective to file his response to the LVMPD summary judgment motion the same week as he's arguing that the same attorney is incompetent as part of his appeal in the criminal case. How this plays out next week will be interesting for all involved. DeCastro's appeal will be carried live on the Our Nevada Judges YouTube channel on Wednesday. Flashback, July 6, 2023, DeCastro hits 200,000 subscribers. Jose Maria Chili DeCastro accomplished something no other auditor has done in recent history, as his channel broke the 200,000 subscriber mark on Wednesday, marking a gain of over 150,000 subscribers since this daily newspaper started back in November of 2022. Controversy has always surrounded the figures, with initial growth in the late portion of 2022 seeing DeCastro's channel add between 200 and 300 new subscribers around the same observed time daily, without being reflective of new activity in his chat, watch time hours, or video views. As 2022 became 2023, DeCastro's 200 to 300 daily increases eventually led to 2,000 to 3,000 daily new subscribers, again in the same patterns, with little to no increase in video views, watch hours, or subscriber interaction. Accusations have always been thrown out that DeCastro buys subscribers, which DeCastro has vehemently denied, stating that he simply makes so little money off his channel and his merchandise sales that it wouldn't be economically feasible to buy subscribers. Yet the accusations only grow louder as he reaches every new milestone. DeCastro admitted that he was recently denied YouTube's prestigious Silver Play Button Award, usually given for passing 100,000 subscribers. A suspension of the channel back in November of 2022 could be responsible for that, as all channels applying for the award must pass strict rules, including no YouTube policy violations for the past year. His legal battle against YouTube's copyright system is going poorly, and DeCastro claims to be shadow banned by the platform. Google/YouTube has increasingly put pressure on the YouTuber in court by pointing out the deficits in his legal case. DeCastro has done himself no favors by using the same fair use system as what he's rallying against in court in order to enable him to feature works of others in his near nightly live streams, where he explains the version of the truth surrounding each video. His recent barrage of copyright strikes against other creators, including dozens of total strikes against Team Skeptic, Irish Demon, and the Welsh News Network, have all been denied by YouTube, as DeCastro has declined to file the required federal or international lawsuits against each creator within the required deadlines. DeCastro apparently falling back on federal copyright lawsuits against the company as fulfilling the requirement. Some point out that DeCastro has had incredible success in repackaging his long-format videos into YouTube Shorts, gaining millions of views on a handful of minute-long videos. The short format's lack of focus on user feedback, accounting for the huge increases in subscribers, counts with those viewers carrying over into his long-format live stream and videos. Wednesday's live stream, yet another look at his perceived evils of the Supreme Court's Terry v. Ohio ruling, brought in 2,800 viewers in 7 hours since going live, with 87 comments and an observed peak live viewership of 234 viewers. The participants in chat remain the same observed handful of supporters and trolls that DeCastro always brings in, without fail, for such a huge channel. While DeCastro loves to state that he is one of the fastest-growing YouTube First Amendment auditing channels, achieving a pace of 50 or 60,000 new subscribers every month, questions continue to plague his channel as he reaches every new milestone. Are the subscribers real? If they are, why are they so quiet? Why does he pull so few of those new subscribers, 2,000 to 3,000 daily, to live events? Why does he struggle so badly with fundraisers? His current fundraiser for a wheelchair and eye reading module for a disabled subscriber sits at the same financial totals for over a week now, which is $15,000 left in a goal of $7,200. Wouldn't someone out of the estimated 21,000 new subscribers the channel's brought in the past week be able to help him achieve his noble goals? Those questions will more than likely remain unanswered as the channel is projected to hit 2,500,000 subscribers by the end of the month and continue a path to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for being here for our week in review. I hope you're entertained, or I hope you're entertained. It's been a long night, a longer day, and I'm going to bed. We'll be on the air later today with our Sunday night panel at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with our nightly news at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there.